they wanted to know who had done it and identify Gideon as the person who did it. They made some inquiries, and it was said that Gideon did that. And so this is verse 30 of Judges chapter 6. Then the men of the town said to Joash, Joash is Gideon's father, "Bring out your son that he may die, for he has broken down the altar of Baal and cut down the Asherah beside it." Now, Joash himself was not innocent in the matter of the idolatry of these gods, but he is a father wanting to protect his son. So Joash had a good question for the townspeople who wanted to kill Gideon for tearing down their town idols. And this is what Joash said, verse 31. But Joash said to all who stood against him, "Will you contend for Baal, or will you save Baal? Whoever contends for him shall be put to death by morning. If he is a god, let him contend for himself, because his altar has been broken down." So you hear that good question. Here the townspeople want to kill Gideon for tearing down this idol. And Joash, Gideon's father, says, well, if that was ever a God to start with, couldn't he protect himself? You know, why do you have to take up his cause? Why do you have to defend him? If he's a God, he ought to be able to defend himself. And so we're told that it was, in verse 32, that on that day Gideon was called Jerubbaal, because he had contended against the Baal. And this was his start as a judge in Israel, his first adventure in faith. His next adventure in faith the story begins in chapter 7, and it is the most famous one concerning Gideon. The Midianites were the problem foreign nation in Israel at that time. The Midianites had invaded Israel, and they had their army camps around and were causing much distress in Israel. So Gideon has been called to deliver the Israelites from the hand of the Midianites. And so here's the famous story about that. Gideon says, well, I need to get up an army then. And he puts out a call. Who's willing to come and fight the Midianites with me? And 32,000 people show up and say, we'll take up arms. We'll go against the Midianites. So Gideon probably felt pretty good about that. But God looked at it and said, that's too many for a faith adventure. If you were going to do it by yourself and by your own power, that might be a good number to do it. But I'm sending you out for a faith victory, and 32,000 is too many for a faith victory. And so God told Gideon to just tell people, thank you for coming, but if you don't really want to be here, you can go home. We're going to be going into battle. There's going to be a fight, and I know some people are frightened of that. Your families may be frightened.